All right. Second. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Philip Wu with the Department of City Planning at the City of Pittsburgh. Tonight, we are co-hosting a development activities meeting with the Oakland Planning and Development Corporation, OPDC, and the Oakland Business Improvement District, OBID, which are the two registered community organizations for most of Oakland. We have two projects on the agenda tonight. The proposed renovations to the grand steps, walkways, and the accessible entry to the Carnegie Library's main branch in Oakland. And then we also have the proposed Oakland Pride senior housing, affordable senior housing project for LGBTQ plus seniors. Before we get into the presentations, I just want to go over a few logistics related to participating in tonight's Zoom meeting. First, if anyone has any technical issues or needs any assistance, please use the chat feature and I'll make sure to help you out. For any questions to our presenters tonight, you can use the Q&A tool if you would like to type out your question or comment, or if you're calling in by phone and would like to ask a question, you can press *9 to raise your hands. Or you could also press the raise hand button if you'd like to speak your question out loud. As for our presenters, we ask you to be mindful of anyone who may be participating via audio or who might not be in front of their computers, and to try your best to describe what's on each of your slides. And just to note that we are recording this meeting for OPDC and OBID to post online, and for folks to watch later if they were not able to attend. Let's see here, okay. So just a little bit about what a development activities meeting is. A development activities meeting, or DAM for short, is a meeting that is held as part of the City of Pittsburgh's Registered Community Organization program. That program is administered through the Department of City Planning and seeks to incorporate community input into development activities in neighborhoods that have strong community groups that have applied to be part of the program. So applicants requesting to go before the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the Plan Commission, the Historic Review Commission, or the Art Commission for a public hearing, or some combination of the above, and whose projects meet certain thresholds, must coordinate with the registered community organizations and city planning to hold a DAM to engage the community. So DAM is really a way for stakeholders in the community to learn about projects in their neighborhood and to share any concerns or ask any questions prior to the project moving on to a public hearing. So there are, again, there are two RCOs in the vicinity of the two projects being presented tonight. And city planning is hosting the DAM because of this. So my colleague, Andrea Lavinkosis, who is also a neighborhood planner and an Oakland resident, is present tonight. And what she'll be doing in the background is listening into the presentation and taking notes and jotting down any questions and any answers that were given to these questions by the development applicants. So she'll also be completing a report for each project that will go to the relevant boards and commissions prior to the hearing, that will give a neutral telling of the meeting and what was discussed. So the first projects that will be presented tonight, the Carnegie Library entrance renovations, will be reviewed by the Historic Review Commission, the Art Commission, and the Planning Commission, while the Oakland Pride housing development will be reviewed by the Planning Commission. So that's all I have to go over at the moment. So I'll allow both of the RCOs to talk a bit about each of their respective organizations and any prior engagement they've had with each of the project teams. So I believe we have Kathy from OPDC going first.
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Raddock. I'm the Communications and Operations Manager at Oakland Planning and Development. And our mission is to build a better Oakland and help neighbors thrive. We have many programs for Oakland residents, including affordable rental housing. We have about 100 apartments that we rent out. We also operate the Oakland Community Land Trust, which keeps affordable home ownership throughout Oakland. We also participate in community organizing, neighborhood advocacy, and planning meetings like this. And we have financial coaches that work with people looking for new jobs, working on their resumes, any kind of financial and career planning. And we also participate design review of projects coming to Oakland, and we have project pages for all of those on our website at opdc.org. And we also have youth after school mentoring and partner with the University of Pittsburgh and other community organizations on programs like that. This meeting tonight is our first engagement with the Carnegie Library of Oakland for the proposed improvements to the main entrance. And Presbyterian Senior Care had presented preliminary plans for the Oakland Pride affordable housing at our August 21 Oakland-wide meeting. And if you want to take a look later on, we have the meeting slides, recording, and meeting minutes for that on our project page. There's the bit.ly link. And just a couple of upcoming meetings important to OPDC. This month, both Let's Talk, which is on April 20th, and our Oakland-wide meeting, which is on April 26th. We'll be continuing our analysis and a community discussion of the draft Oakland plan, which is the 10-year roadmap for Oakland's future. Everyone in the community is encouraged to provide their comments by the May 1st deadline. You can go to the Engage Pittsburgh website for that. You can also stop by our office. We have comment cards. And then the draft plan has its second briefing with the Planning Commission, and that's tomorrow. The link for that meeting is there as well. And please visit our website for any more info on all these upcoming meetings.
Thanks, Kathy. And now we have Leah from OBID.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Friedman from the Oakland Business Improvement District. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager here. Thanks, Phil. And I would just like to echo Kathy that we are encouraging all community members and stakeholders to comment on the Oakland plan at the website they showed. Very important. So Oakland Business Improvement District is the region's second largest place management organization in Pittsburgh. We're a business improvement district, which means that we're made up of our members in our boundary, but we also expand a little bit larger for the registered community organization program. Our vision is to set the standard for growth and innovation, and mission is to ensure Oakland's place as Pennsylvania's global center. We host a number of programs and projects to bring people to Oakland's business district and work with business owners and property owners in the district to do all sorts of things throughout the neighborhood. So you can visit our website. You can visit our website at oaklandpittsburgh.com. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And I also put my email there in case anybody wants to reach out to me separately. Engagement for today's meeting. OBID has been pretty involved with the Oakland Pride planning team, and I have written here a number of engagements throughout the last 2 years that we've been involved with. OBID also keeps all of our information about this on our website and has been sharing regularly with stakeholders and bid members. For the Carnegie Library, we've only been in private contact with the private communication with the project team. So we're looking forward to learning more tonight. And we also have more on our website for anyone to look up information about the Carnegie Library project as well.
Thanks, Leah. And I think we can get started on our first presentation. Sergey or Ron, would you, one of you like to share your screen? Sergey, you're on mute.
We could do it either way, Phil. We could share the screen, or you could just you control the slides. It's up to you.
If you could share your screen, that would probably be better.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sergey Matvey with elagin Architecture. The project that I'm presenting here tonight is Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's main branch, the Oakland. And the work that we're doing is an addition and renovations at the Schenley Plaza entrance. Yes.
I don't see your screen. I don't know if anyone else does.
There we go. How's that?
There we go. Yep.
All right. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying, the Schenley Plaza entrance is where the work is going on. It's an addition and renovations. The project team that we have assembled is elagin Architecture, that's myself, and the civil engineer and structural engineers involved are gateway engineers. WNA Engineering is handling the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection work. And then Eichenlob has also been engaged for the landscaping. Here's just a vicinity map of the project, and you can see that the main entrance is along the Schenley Drive extension facing Schenley Plaza. Here's an aerial view to give you a better sense of the current paving situation of the plaza that's right in front of the grand steps. And the scope of work that we're doing here is an in-kind reconstruction of the exterior grand steps facing Schenley Plaza. What we'll be trying to do is try to maintain as much of the existing stone that is in place right now, but obviously some of the stones have deteriorated to the point where there will be some replacement. We're also doing some exterior paving to improve the accessible routes, and in particular the route from Forbes Avenue where the bus stops are. We'll be adding a small vestibule for an elevator lobby, and that's going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to be tucking it into a corner where the existing entrance is, but we don't want to detract from the grand facade that's there, and just trying to be as discreet as possible. Obviously, the construction of the Lula, which is a limited use, limited application elevator, will be involved, and that will be on the interior. So that's probably a little bit less germane to tonight's discussion, but we do want to make you guys aware of what we're trying to accomplish here. And then landscaping along all of the new walkways. So here's the grand steps as it looks today. Now from 100 feet, they look actually remarkably good shape, but when you get in closer, you start to see the deterioration that has gone on over the years. You can see the cracking that's going on in the cheek walls. The cheek walls have actually started to move away from the granite steps, and the joints have continued to expand. There's the silicone joints that the library's been putting in keep getting wider and wider. In some cases, there's actually been a need to put in some infill stone pieces to eliminate tripping hazards. And you can see in the right photo how the movement has really progressed, where stones are actually falling away. And this is predominantly a problem associated with water, heaving of the through freeze thaw cycles. We just redid the steps at the Mount Washington branch, and it's actually the same architect. that did both these buildings 125 years ago. So we're somewhat familiar with what the problems are and how this construction fails. And so we'll be trying to, this project will involve removing all of these steps, cataloging everything, and going down and putting in new subsurface drainage and recreating the foundation. So it's a pretty invasive project as far as these steps go. The walkway that we're proposing to do will be trying to cut down a travel distance from the bus stop from Forbes Avenue. So this is looking from about halfway between Forbes and the entrance, looking towards Shenley Drive. And right now, the current route, if you have a mobility issue and you're trying to get to the lift, involves going all the way down this walkway to where those cars are parked, all the way in the background of the photo, hanging a left, and then hanging a left along that far corner of the building and coming back towards the entryway. What we're trying to do is actually cut down that travel distance by a few hundred feet by creating a very gently sloped walkway that goes along, that traverses this little slope in front of the building, this little mound of dirt. So there will be some regrading involved, and we'll be putting in some landscaping to soften the look of the paving, but also we're trying to be very careful in terms of how this paving is accomplished. The proposed is to put it so that it is so gentle that it's not considered a ramp under the code. So there will not be any handrails or anything like that, or any curbs that would detract from the view of the historical facade. Now, when you come up to the top of what we're proposing, as far as those walkways, you'll be on the plaza that's on the left-hand side of the photo in front of the steps. The current accessible entrance, you can see it's demarcated by the blue accessibility signage on the left-hand side of the page, and there's a walkway which goes down towards the building along the right-hand side of the steps and goes to what is currently the entry to a vertical platform lift. Here's a better view of where the vertical platform lift enters. Now, this was done about close to 20 years ago, where an architect basically put in the vertical platform lift, and they did it very discreetly and they did it very carefully. But this head height on this door is about 6 feet or so, which doesn't even meet code. And so it's not exactly a very dignified entrance. And what we're trying to do is try to create a little bit more dignified, I suppose is the word to use, more dignified entrance into the building for those that need to use the lift. Here's the current vertical platform lift as it sits today in this area below the grand steps. Now, this area is very damp, it's cold, and since this is a vertical platform lift, it's not enclosed in a shaft. So every time this door opens in the cooler months of winter, all this cold air rushes in and rushes into this space and comes up through the library and cools down the main entryway up above. There's a lot of efflorescence visible on the stone on the walls in this space. So we can see that the water is failing in many regards. It's not only causing the heaving under the steps, but it's also starting to cause deterioration on the inside of the spaces in the basement. Now, the vertical platform lift, you can see on the left-hand side of the photo how it comes in, and obviously that space is open to below. And so, like I mentioned in the previous slide, the air comes in during the cooler months and cools down this space. And so what we're proposing to do is put an elevator in that location, which will have a shaft and isolate that air from coming into the building. Other innovations in this space, and I understand this is in the public realm and maybe a little bit outside of this discussion as far as like what we're doing in the public right away, but just for your information, the things that we're proposing to do in this space is to eliminate these glass vestibules, which have become quite a maintenance headache for the library. They are needing adjustment quite often. We're also trying to eliminate some tripping hazards, and in the process, also trying to maybe put in some doors that are more sympathetic to the architecture of this space. It's a beautiful old grand space, and we're attempting to put something in that's maybe a little bit more of this ilk. So there'll be some new doors within these archways to create a new entry hall. There'll be wooden glass to match the wood doors that are throughout the building, and there'll be some glass transoms, and also to the area will be basically weatherproof to ensure that they keep their heating costs down as much as possible. The highlighted area is the spaces we've looked at so far. Here's a little bit of a more close-up view of what we're proposing as far as these walkways go. The green walkway on the upper portion of the page is the one that's coming from Forbes. Orange is the grand steps being renovated. The green walkway in the lower part of the page is the reconfigured walkway, which we're putting in for the entrance to the new elevator. And then the blue is the extent of the addition, which is really very diminutive. It's only about 3'6" by about 7'6" in footprint. Here are some of the descriptions of the work that we're doing to restore the facade. We're renovating the bronze doors, renovating the cheek walls, renovating the steps, putting in new foundations, and then of course the vestibule itself. The vestibule, we're having renderings performed, and we could certainly provide those to you once those are available. But in general, the materiality, the glass obviously is self-explanatory, but as far as the lower portion of the vestibule, that's proposed to be a sandstone matching the building, and then a very small standing seam roof. We have used in the past successfully a very deep brown, almost bronze type of brake metal or standing seam roof in the past on this building, and probably will be using something that looks like that again. It blends in well with the sandstone, and it's matches the roof on the building up above, which is quite a ways up, so you don't really necessarily see the adjacency, but it does from afar. It looks right. Part of this drawing also shows these A, B, and C's on the doors, and the reason for that is that there will be a sequence to all this construction, which maintains the library being open. We understand that it's a major draw for the community, and has a lot of users. It's heavily visited, heavily visited by both students and by people in the community, and it's just so one of the things is that we'll be doing a phasing of the construction along here and ensuring that this entrance stays open throughout these renovations. So there will be various types of enclosures and ways of getting in, just to make sure that there's not that disruption of service to the community. Here's a view of some of this renovations that we're doing inside with the elevator shaft and the wood and glass doors that are in the lower right-hand corner of the page. And then there's also a tripping hazard, which you may be familiar with. It's those boilerplate ramps that are in the vestibule currently, and those will be removed, and we'll be doing some renovations in there to eliminate that tripping hazard, which currently is being mediated by that boilerplate ramping. As Philip mentioned, we do have to go through Historic Review Commission, Art Commission, Planning Commission, and I believe we might even have to have some discussions with Public Works. But today is the precursor to all of that, which is the Development Activities meeting. And so we're looking for any kind of feedback that the community might have, any kind of ideas that they may want to incorporate. And that is our presentation for today.
Thank you, Sergey. Any questions? Or comments? All right, seeing none. I think we can probably move on to Oakland
I'll just
Pride.
say this, if I may, just one thing is that this project, I appreciate both organizations allowing us to come into this meeting today. Was very last minute. We do have a very aggressive timetable for this project, so we do really appreciate the accommodations that both organizations made to make this happen today. We did have a pre-application meeting with the city of Pittsburgh already. So in discussing with the historians over at the city planning department, I will just say that the feedback was very positive. They, obviously when you're doing renovations and additions on a building as significant as this one, the expectation is that you're going to do it right, and that you're going to do it in a way that is sensitive to the existing architecture, and especially when you're doing an addition, there's a higher bar that you have to meet. So I'm happy to say that in our meeting with HRC staff, the reception was good, and they did not seem concerned about the addition. So.
And you're going to HRC first, right?
I believe so. Yes. I mean, we're going to be sending. I think that the way that the process works, as I understand, but you correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can do HRC and Art Commission, I think, first, but Planning Commission, I think, has to somewhat wait on the findings of those two commissions. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And your HRC hearing is on May 4th. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, May. It's April already. Yeah, May 4th. Okay.
Yeah. Rod, does that sound right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And just on behalf of the owner, I'm the Director of Facilities Development, Ron Graziano. I just want to thank both organizations for, sliding the meeting date, fitting us in. We really do appreciate it. This project, we really need to get it moving fast because we want to try to get this all tucked up before the winter is upon us. There's gonna be a lot of excavating, a lot of mud to get these foundations re-poured. So timing is of the essence, and I can't thank everybody enough. And you also, Phil, for coordinating the efforts. I think we started this about a month ago, and we seem to be on the right track now. So thanks to all.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Sergey. All right. We can move on to the Oakland Pride projects, and we have Dan Rothschild, Jim Pfeiffer, and David Ennis. If one of you would like to share your screen.
Philip, thanks for getting the technology to work. We appreciate that. Thanks. And thank you again for hosting us.
Yeah. Sure.
Dan, do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, Jim, why don't you start? I was going to introduce Jim Pfeiffer and David Ennis, so go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Dan, and thank you to all of you for having us at the meeting this evening. I'm Jim Pfeiffer, President and CEO of Presbyterian Senior Care Network since September the 1st, but I've actually worked with the organization for over 36 years and have been involved in our housing ministry for almost 34 of those 36 years. And just to mention briefly, Presbyterian Senior Care will be the sponsor of this new community together with Affirmative Investments. We've been serving the Pittsburgh market since 1928. We're based in Oakmont, Pennsylvania, but we have 8 affordable housing communities already in the city of Pittsburgh. We've been working in the city since 1986. Overall, we have 56 communities serving over 6,500 seniors and persons with disabilities in Western Pennsylvania, and we're actually the largest provider of senior services in Western PA. And we've been working on this Oakland Pride project for about 4 years, looking for unique ways to serve LGBTQ seniors in affordable housing setting. We did several years of focus groups and discussions with the LGBT community, looking at securing sites and opportunities. And we're very excited about the possibility of this community being in Oakland. It was a #1 choice for our seniors in the focus groups to be close to services, to the university, to the cultural amenities of Oakland. So we're very pleased to hopefully be a part of the Oakland community in the future. I'm a lifelong Pittsburgher, growing up right across the river in the South Side. So love the idea of being close to the universities and part of the fabric of the city. We've also been a partner with Affirmative Investments for over 20 years, working on several communities together, affordable housing in the city of Pittsburgh. And I'd like to introduce David Ennis, who is a principal of Affirmative Investment and will be our partner in this project. David?
Thanks, Jim. So, well, thanks very much for OBID and OPDC hosting us tonight. I'm not a lifelong Pittsburgher, but I've been working in Pittsburgh for over 20 years. Presbyterian Senior Care and Affirmative Investments have done 4 communities together. This will be our 5th. We are a mission-driven company based in Boston, but we work fairly closely in Pittsburgh because we work with the URA on economic development projects. But I'm especially pleased with this project because of the fact that, as Jim had mentioned, it sort of emerges from the LGBTQ community. I mean, that we have sort of responded to a sense of need from them about a facility that would be comfortable for them to live in as they age. And that's so, anyways, for me, this is an important project. And I'd like to turn it over to Dan Rothschild, who is our architect and planner. So.
Thank you, David. Before we start, we again want to thank the neighborhood organizations that were able to meet with us. We had in the last half of last year, I'm getting feedback. Typically, I've been able to mute this, but it's not.
Dan, I think you might have your computer and your iPad on. You might be on twice.
I know. Let me see if this is better. That's about the best I could do. Oh no.
Are you able to mute your iPad?
Used to say yes, and then it didn't ask me the question with this new panelist thing. So I tried to turn the volume down off.
If it's like the iPhone, there might be a switch on the side.
There is a switch that only makes it go low, but not off.
Well, the feedback's not too bad, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, this has been a Zoom. Was that sound? That was sound. It's on mute. No, it's not in that. Let me try something else.
The feedback is not, it's not terrible, so.
It's not terrible, Dan. Maybe you
Might
should
be
just
able
go
to work.
forward. It's like crickets. It sounds like crickets.
All right,
Yep.
I'm gonna do my best by holding this far away. I apologize for the technical difficulties. So anyway, in the last half of last year, we met with OPDC. They were very kind enough to have a informal meeting. And for OBID, we were able to give them some information that they shared with the board of directors. We also met with Oakland for All and the Pittsburgh Innovation District, and over the course of these last 6 months with city planning and DOMI and other organizations. The reason that we're here is that the why for this project is that there is intense housing discrimination for this cohort, the LGBTQ community. And as Jim was saying, there were focus groups that talked about this type of discrimination. So providing this housing for this very important cohort is something that both our organization, Presbyterian Senior Care and Affirmative Investments, feels very strongly about. And now somebody's saying, try to hold my microphone. It still doesn't work. I'll just try to muscle through here. And again, I apologize. This has never happened to me before. I had someone in my office come in and try to do this, but I can't shut the audio off. You have any idea? Take one more try. How's that? A little better?
Better.
A little better. Okay, thank you.
It's about the same.
I'm going to continue. So the site that we're choosing, or the site that we're presenting tonight, is right along Forbes Avenue as you enter the neighborhood. We understand the importance of this site, and we're taking the design and trying to understand everything that's going around us very much to heart. We know that you're going through the Oakland plan right now, and there's new zoning that's being considered, and we've been following that very closely. And we've been talking to city planning about that. We also know that OPDC has an Oakland 2025 plan that talks very importantly about the Western Gateway, and it's important to entering the neighborhood. So what we're going to do tonight is going to show you our process for how we thought about the project, and we call it design storytelling. Our firm has been in business for 33 years. Good part of that was in the affordable housing landscape. We've done work all over the city, and every time we work on affordable housing, we try to tell a story of the residents and try to understand the sense of place. So when we're working in a neighborhood, we try to look at what are the both social and physical forces that are acting on a project. And we're going to do that tonight with you before we show you the renderings. As an example, the two projects that we're showing here, it's a project in the Hill District where we worked with the neighborhood to talk about honoring the famous jazz legends of the neighborhood. In Garfield and Friendship, we worked on a site that both neighborhood groups owned, and we fashioned a bridge that connected both neighborhoods into the project. So today we're going to look at what sort of forces came to bear on this project and how that came to fashion the design that we're going to present. This is one of the earliest sketches that we did, and it talked about coming off the Parkway and trying to understand how this is one of the first views that you see of Oakland, and how the corner of this property is going to be very important. And it's going to be a signature corner. And we're sort of wondering on what kind of message that could give to people visiting Oakland. And what does this project say about Oakland itself? So we kind of fashioned this building as being a beacon of light, welcoming people to Oakland because of the residents, the cohort that's here, and that this project can say a lot about diversity and being inclusive. And these are sort of the architectural qualities that we're trying to think can be embodied in the building. It could be environmental, technological, transparent, open, bright. We also know that we have a very difficult site in that it's partly a triangle and then there is sort of a tail on it. And we're trying to design our building in this triangular piece right here. We also know that there's a lot of heavy traffic and a lot of movement along Forbes Avenue. The other thing we did with some of our research was trying to find information about what has gone on in this neighborhood. And we found something very interesting, and that is that Andy Warhol grew up and was born just a half mile from our site on Orr Street. And his family moved to Dawson Street in South Oakland during his teenage years. And what's interesting about that is in his time, Andy Warhol was one of the most recognizable gay men in America. And we're trying to understand what that connection could be. We obviously know the local influence on Andy Warhol in Pittsburgh with the museum, but there's also a global influence. So we're wondering, can that energy be felt on our site? We have had no formal discussions with the Warhol Museum, but we're looking forward to trying to understand that, because that's something that we think could be really interesting from either a programming or a physical standpoint. The other thing we did was we looked at our neighboring buildings, which is the McGee Research Center across the street. We looked at that solid ivy wall. We looked at some of the materials. We looked at this tower on the corner, around the corner from Forbes Avenue. We also looked at Skyview up the street, and we noticed some things that seemed to be interesting, and that is a little roof terrace up here, roof terrace over here, but also perhaps some unsightly parking and ceiling that was noticeable here. So we looked at the height of this building was about 5 stories, and then it's set back to a very tall tower. So after looking at the site, we then began to explore, who are the residents who are going to be here. And we did this lovely sketch that talked about the history of the Pride flags and trying to understand just the colorful nature over the years since 1978, when the Pride flag was first unfurled, and how they've changed and how they've morphed and how extremely colorful they are. And it also gave an understanding of how diverse the community is and how the mix of colors are very essential to identity. And in looking at colors, we then began to understand how color can be an integral part of this building telling its story. So again, we're trying to understand the place and we're trying to understand the residents. We then went back to the site and stood there for a long time at different parts of the day. And one thing that is certain is the kinetic motion of the cars and the traffic going through here. And they're like 2 different speeds. When nobody's on this stretch of Forbes Avenue, the traffic can be rather quick as people come off the parkway and they come up to the traffic light at the corner. But then during rush hour, it's very slow because this ends up sort of like a parking lot. In all cases, though, you're moving from the front corner to the far corner. And we began to think of what the different views would be from each of those corners, as well as when you're on the Boulevard of the Allies, kind of seeing the building. So motion and seeing this building from different angles is very different than when you get up past Craft Avenue and you're on the flat part of Forbes, where it's more of a standard business district or neighborhood street. This seems a combination of a neighborhood street, but also an off-ramp. So then we began to understand, if thousands of cars go past this site, how does our building interact with movement? And can the building be sort of kinetic? And that is sort of engage you. If we're trying to take this special population and engage them with the community, how we can make that connection. So we can make a kinetic facade that actually changes colors as you move past. And the way we were thinking of doing that, we're creating bumps on the building where on one side is one color and the other side is a different color. So as you move past the building can actually change colors. And again, be of a colorful nature. We also looked at artists that do that. And we found an artist that actually takes his paintings and folds the canvas. So on one side, when you're looking, it's different than the other side. And wondering how that can influence an architectural building. So we then began to think of designing the building in motion according to the different station points that are on Forbes Avenue. So the reason we did all that was to try to give you just some insight into our thought process. And now we'll go into just the renderings of what the building looks like. So here's our site plan diagram that shows the yellow lines of the parkway. And this yellow line here is the off-ramp that comes under the overpass. The blue line of the Boulevard of the Ally and the red lines are Forbes and Fifth. So as I said before, our site is sort of on this triangular portion, and then it has this tail. And we're looking at is an L-shaped building. And here's sort of a close-up analysis of some of the site features. The first is, again, being very conscious that this is the entry view to Oakland. And we'll show you some renderings of that in a moment. In the L-shaped building, the main entrance is here that can be seen from the Boulevard of the Allies and is one of the first things that you see coming up the roadway. Under the building is a small parking area. What's very interesting about this cohort is because it's affordable housing for seniors, the use of automobiles are very small. And we have a history of that with all the projects that we've done in the city with these clients. In the rear of the project is a little courtyard. There is an in and an out that's only for loading and the removal of trash. The trash is in an internal room here, so there never will be any dumpsters out on the site. Garbage truck will come up, dumpsters come out, garbage truck will go out there like that. In a moment, we're going to go talk about this corner parklet that we're considering as well. So this is a view of the building coming up the roadway. So to get you oriented, obviously this is Forbes, Kraft is up here. Here's the Carlos Science Building and the McGee Research Center is on the right. This is our main entrance. Above the main entrance is a second floor porch for the residents. We do have some small sitting areas here, but with all the cars, we created a second floor porch for them. These are communal spaces. They're lobby lounges on each floor. And on top, there's a small roof terrace. This is the entry into the garage. And there is bicycle parking that's covered on the side here. The building is actually 6 stories on this side and 5 stories on this side. What you'll see is the height of our building actually matches the height of the bump out of Skyview. Here's a close-up of the entrance showing the second floor porch and the community rooms, the vehicular in and out, and the bicycle parking. This is a view looking down from Craft Avenue, and you'll notice that the colors now have changed and they're blue. The blue is to match the sky. Going back here, the green is to be sort of biophilic and bring an environmental feel to the building. We'll have street trees. We'll also have trellises that come up the building. And we have a planter that runs along the second floor. This greenery we see is kind of one kind of fashionable item that will relate to the green ivy that's over here, but be more colorful. We actually have, if I can do this, a video that shows how it would look moving next to the building here. So let me see if I can get this to work. So that would be the view if you were on a bus coming up the right-hand lane, looking at the building. And through the series of coloration, we're able to make this a kinetic movement that has the colorful vitality, diversity, and mixture that we think is a very important attribute of this cohort. Here's a view at night, and it goes to the idea of this being a beacon and a welcoming symbol for Oakland. What you can see are all the public areas of the building are brought to the corner from the main entrance to the second floor porch. And now you can see inside the community lounges. This is Andy Warhol wallpaper that we put up here. And then we have the glowing roof terrace. The idea is again to show that Oakland is a welcoming, open, diverse community that is ready to be transparent to the people who live here and the connection to their neighborhood. The sixth floor up here is also a larger community room that will be open to all residents. Last thing that we're going to do is talk about zoning. When we submitted this project, it was under the existing zoning code, which we're following, even though we know the Oakland plan is going to be coming up in the future. We're in the OPR-D, which is the public realm for the Boulevard of the Allies. And going through that, we're going to just touch on a few things. We know that from a purpose standpoint, that we're an entrance to Oakland, and we've tried to take that very seriously through the design to understand what the site had to offer and what these residents had to offer. Our use is multi-unit residential permitted by right. The variances that we're going to need have to do with setbacks in the front and the rear. That's primarily because of the triangular site, which means if we were a rectangle, we would be able to meet both of those setbacks, but with the diagonal in the back, we're going to be challenged. We measured the setback of the McGee Research Center, which is approximately 20 feet from the curb to the building, and we're going to try to match that. Both sides of the street have 8-foot sidewalks that are in good shape, and we're going to keep that as well. In a moment, I'll show you the height analysis. It's 60 feet, but with a special exception can be 85. We're going to be somewhere around 70 feet, and that's not a variance, but a special exception. Other specific projects development, we have to maintain a 50% building frontage. We're very close with that. We're certainly more than that on the triangular part of the site. But when you take in the tail, it gets really close to 50%. avoiding long flat facades. You can see that by the way that we modulated the bumps on the building and the first floor that have the deep recesses. Highly visible entrance. The entrance shall face the Boulevard of the Allies. So we feel we're in compliance with pretty much everything here, except for the front and rear setback. In looking at the heights, what's really interesting is how tall the buildings are around us. The McGee building is about 110 feet high. So we're only 2/3 of that height. We come up to this floor. I'm sorry, this floor right here, which is approximately 2/3 of the way up. For sky view, we pretty much come up to the height of the 5 stories that are on Forbes Avenue, which is here. So you can see from a neighboring standpoint, going to 70 feet is not going to be detrimental to any of our neighbors. The other thing has to do with the green design features. This building is going to be very well endowed from an environmental standpoint. We're going to be using 2 design metrics. One is called Enterprise Green Communities. The other is the Department of Energy Zero Energy Ready Home. But here's the big picture. It has to do with climate change. We're going to be committing to a full electrification on this building, so no fossil fuels will be used. That will decrease our greenhouse gases. And we're going to make this building with a very tight thermal envelope. We're going to bring in fresh air. We're going to use good materials. It'll be smoke-free. Water conservation will be high. I mean, the results will be that this is going to be a very energy-efficient building. Resident comfort will be increased. We're going to reduce operating and utility costs and reduce demands on all the public infrastructure for sewers, wastewater management. Last thing we'll talk before we ask for questions has to do with a site attribute, and that is this corner parklet. We're very interested, as the traffic comes up to this intersection, to try to make this feel like a new gateway to Oakland. So we're looking at incorporating public art in this open space, maybe some wayfinding as well. And we're wondering if this would also have an impact on the other 3 corners that might have potential improvements. This also goes very well with the new Oakland plan, where there's a call for public art and open space. And this is a page out of their community meeting. So at this point, I think what we'll do is I'll just focus on maybe one of the renderings. And again, I apologize for the echoing nature. For one reason or another, this Zoom did not have the off button, and nor did my iPad. So Philip, I'm going to bring it back to you to maybe go over the questions, and we can check the chat as well.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, very comprehensive presentation, and looks like a very colorful project. Just want to go over a few things in the, well, I first had a question myself. You said you'll need variances for setbacks and the special exception for height. Are you going to the zoning board first, or are you going to planning commission first?
What we're doing, Philip, that's a very good question. So we should talk about the schedule and what our goals are here. This project will be submitted to Pennsylvania Housing and Finance as an application on June 30th. And we're trying to get to the Zoning Board of Adjustment before then for the variances. At that time, we're going to pause to understand if we can get funding through PHFA. So we're going to just go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment first for those variances, because that's a part of our application process.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, just to know the timeline there. I just want to read a couple questions or comments from Elena. Elena says, be advised that the Oak Cliff Community Organization has just become a registered community organization. The Oakland Pride building lies within our boundaries. OCO has not had time to meet about the Oakland Pride building and has no official comments tonight. Yes, Oak Cliff has become a new RCO. This zoning application was submitted prior to Oak Cliff becoming an RCO. So anything in the future in the Oak Cliff area boundaries will fall under a dam for Oak Cliff and the other Oakland RCOs. So David Ennis says, happy to meet with you separate from this presentation to go over our plans and timeline. And Craig Nicholson said, Elena, please reach out to me so that we can plan for a discussion regarding Oakland Pride. And then following that, Millie has a comment. Will be nice to have some more seniors in Oakland. We are currently trying to get the Oakland Plan team to recognize seniors as an important population and one that demands room in their plan. From Mark, Mark has a couple questions. Planning crosswalk at entrance across Forbes.
Not at the main entrance, no. It's too busy there. So if you're talking about directly across, let me draw it here. If you're talking about here, we are not planning a crosswalk there. We just think it's too busy.
And Millie asks how long the building is along Forbes.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But I can get back to her with the answer. Hey, Walt, if you're on, maybe you can look it up and come back to me. There's somebody from our office here. So we'll look that up and we'll get back to you in the next few minutes.
Okay, that sounds good. Mark has another question. Is this not dark sky compliant?
Could you repeat that? Somebody was here trying to get my attention.
Mark asks, is this not dark sky compliant?
Dark sky compliant, that's a good question. Dark sky compliant has to do with light shining up. I can see in this rendering that on top of the roof terrace, there seems to be a glow there. That might just be for architectural effect. But we will make sure that it's dark sky compliant. What I'm talking about is right up here. But other than that, all the light is just coming out horizontally.
And
Anything
another
green or garden on the roof. Right now on the small roof terrace, there's just going to be outdoor furniture. So there is no green roof planned for the building.
And Brian has a question. Love the colors of the facade, but will the facade be metal panels similar to the failing metal panels on the bridge at Forbes or something more durable?
It's not going to be metal. It will be some sort of concrete type board that uses integral color that we have used on other projects.
Elena has a question. What is the proposed zoning and the Oakland plan for these parcels? I don't know the answer to that question, but
I do.
Okay.
It's UCE is the proposed zoning. That's the zoning district.
Okay. And Kathy has a question. What is the expected timeline of the project and its construction?
So if we do the application for PHFA in June, their announcements typically come out towards the end of the year, which is 2022. So 2023, we'll see design and construction starting, hopefully.
All right, and Millie just provided her email address to follow up on the length of the building.
Okay, Millie will get back to you. If not in the next few moments, I'll email that to you.
Elena's question about zoning, the new zoning. Is residential permitted in UCE? E is employment.
I believe, and city planning can maybe come in that affordable housing is also being considered in UCE. And we are 100% affordable housing. But city planning can probably confirm that.
All right. Any more questions from folks? Anyone want to ask your question out loud?
I see Kathy's, I have the chat up, Philip, so I can actually answer these. Kathy asked,
Okay.
can you give some details on size of apartments and guest parking options? There will be 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. The 1-bedrooms are very nicely sized at 700 square feet. Guest parking options, there'll be 26 parking spaces in the building. What we have found in similar projects, that 1/4 to 1/3 of the residents actually own cars. So we believe there will be plentiful guest parking within. I also see that Walt just measured the building. It's 170 feet long, Millie. That would be from one end to this end, right there.
All right. Thanks, Walt, for doing the measurement there. Elena has a question. Was a traffic study required? I am concerned about left turns.
A traffic study was undertaken by Trans Associates. They met with Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. They were given a review of what intersections they had to look at. And Elena, can you tell me which left turns you're talking about? Left turn from where to where? So I'm not sure which left turn you're talking about. And maybe I'll go to a site plan so we can be more specific.
This is Elena. I'm talking about if you are coming from the boulevard up Craft, you cross Forbes, and you would want to turn left into it. And I'm also talking about coming out from the parking if you want to turn left to go up Craft and onto Fifth Avenue. So I'm really talking about both of them. Also, Carlo is proposing a large 700 plus car parking garage right at the top of Craft. I don't know if that was incorporated into the traffic study or not.
So let me answer the first question. This entry only and exit only is only for loading and trash. So it would only be a few times a week that it would be used. So that's not the entry and exit into our parking. That's down here. So they did not consider that a problem because of the infrequent use of it. I think you were talking about the parking garage up here.
Correct.
I don't know if that was taken into account, but again, we have 26 cars under our building. At peak times, I think they said there would be 5 cars coming out of that building or into that building. So we have one of the lowest vehicular uses of any building type with affordable housing for seniors. And I see in the chat that somebody answered for UCE, multi-unit residential is proposed to be an administrator's exception. So I apologize for the affordable housing. I think that was just on one of the slides of the community meeting that affordable housing was encouraged. But multi-unit is an administrator's exception.
Multi-unit is a use. Affordable housing is not considered a use. But Kevin is one of our colleagues in city planning. So thank you, Kevin, for answering that. We have another question from Mark. How would any guests know of vacancies in garage regardless of resident car ownership?
There will be a system at the garage entrance that would be able to connect to our manager And when guests are coming for residents, they will be pre-approved to come into the garage. If they were just coming in, they would be able to contact the manager regardless.
All right.
Did you figure anything out?
Any more questions for Dan and his team? Looks like there's a follow-up from Mark.
Yes, Mark, what we did was we recessed the garage door deep into the building so there could be people stacking past the sidewalk. Somewhat similar to Skyview, if you understand how far back their garage door is.
Is the garage, is there going to be a gate going in and out of the garage door?
It's not a gate, there's a door. So I think that's actually in one of the renderings here. So in this rendering, the doors are back here and the stacking can occur there. But we're hoping that people get pre-approved to come in for the most part.
Mark has a follow-up comment. I don't recall a good, easy way to turn around at Skyview if visitors weren't given admission.
I don't know how that works either. We're hoping that through communication with the residents and the manager, that people coming into that garage will have permission. I've also had 4 people from my office come in here trying to fix this echo thing. So now I feel sort of that this panelist host thing, which is something new to me, had an effect on this. So again, I apologize.
No, no worries. The echo wasn't very strong. We could definitely hear everything you were saying. All right. Any more questions for Dan?
Jim, I wondered if you wanted to give any closing thoughts. I can certainly do that myself by thanking everyone.
I appreciate that. Dan, we would like to thank everyone for your time today. This is a very exciting project for our organization. And we just appreciate the time that's been dedicated to it and the cooperation we've seen, from everyone so far. Everyone really seems to understand the spirit of this special project, and we appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Dan. If there are no more questions for the Oakland Pride team, we'd like to thank them for taking the time to present, and thank you also to both of the RCOs and everyone in attendance tonight. Yeah, with that, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.